Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Let us continue with our tafsir of Surah Aal-Imraan bihawlillahi wa quwwatih, and we are on ayah number 190. قال الله تعالى إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار لآيات لأولي الباب. The words of this ayah are generally straightforward. In the creations of the heavens, these are the 7 layers of the heaven. Of course, we are beneath the first layer, and we have no idea what the other layers look like. And the earth, referring to planet Earth, and in the alternation, ikhtilaf, of the night and the day, there are ayat, meaning signs, for the people of al-bab, which is the plural of lub, which means intellect. Lub originally means the core of something. For example, the core of a fruit. You see an apple, in the middle you have the core of the apple. And so from that, it comes to mean intellect, because the intellect is the core of the human being. It is the intellect which makes a human and differentiates the human from an animal. The human clearly has a different level of intellect than the most intelligent of animals. And we need to be sure what we mean when we say intellect. Intellect does not mean when you score a high IQ test or you have great exam results. Yes, this certainly requires intellect, aqlul idrak, the intellect of comprehension. But what the Quran means by intellect is when you act and behave in a rightly guided manner. You can have many people who are extremely intelligent in that they score highly in their IQ tests and in the exam results, and they have places in the top universities and so on, and yet you find them drinking alcohol, which precisely removes your intellect from you. So even though these people are clever and intelligent from one angle, what they are doing, the action that they are undertaking, is not rightly guided. Also, in the ikhtilaf of the night and day, ikhtilaf meaning differing, what does that refer to? It's how the night and day differ. So, in the summer, the days are longer, the nights are shorter, and in the winter, it's the reverse. So they differ in that sense. One can also say that they differ in terms of the brightness. Of course, nights are dark and the days are bright. And also in terms of their temperature, there's also differing there. So it could be interpreted in many different ways. And they are all correct because they are not contradictory. As for the signs, then what do these signs point to? Well, these signs point to a creator and this creator's enormous power. And if that's the case, then this creator is worthy of worship, because that's the ultimate point about all these ayat which talk about the rububiyyah of Allah Jalla wa Ala. It is there to tell the people that the rububiyyah implies uluhiyyah, that Allah is to be worshipped uniquely, just as He is the unique creator and owner and manager of all of creation. It also should be noted that this ayah is the first of the last 10 ayat of Surah Aal-Imraan. It is reported in the Sahih that Ibn Abbas said that he spent the night in the Prophet's house, and the Prophet woke up for the tahajjud and recited this ayah whilst looking up at the sky, and then afterwards made the wudu, brushed his teeth, and performed the 11 raka'at of his tahajjud salah until the Salat al-Subh, when Bilal radiallahu anh came to give the adhan. Anyway, the next ayah follows on and talks about who these ulil albab are. Ayah 191. الَّذِينَ يَذْكُرُونَ اللَّهَ قِيَامًا وَقُعُودًا وَعَلَى جُنُوبِهِمْ وَيَتَفَكَّرُونَ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ رَبَّنَا مَا خَلَقْتَ هَذَا بَاطِلًا سُبْحَانَكَ فَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. So he says they are those who make dhikr, remembrance of Allah, whether they are standing up, whether they are sitting down, or whether they are on their junub, janb meaning side, lying down on their side. So whatever position they're in, they are remembering Allah Jalla wa Ala. And they're making tafakkur, which means reflecting on the creation of the heavens and the earth. They say Rabbana, our Lord. Notice Rabbana, the Rabb is mansub bil fatha. And why is that? It is because of the nida, calling out. The harf al-nida, ya, is mahdhuf. It is wiped out because it is known and implied. So Rabb is mansub because of the nida, which makes the noun into mansub. They say our Rabb, and Rabb of course means man lahu at-tasarruf fi shay, the one who does as he wants to about a particular matter. He is the Rabb of that matter. They say, our Rabb, you have not created this, meaning these creations of the heavens and the earth, batilan. Now batilan in this context means in vain, meaning without purpose. Batil can also mean falsehood, but in this context it would mean without purpose, so in vain. It is mansub bil fatha. Why? Because it is a hal. It is a hal of the ism ishara, hadha. So hadha points to something, and these ism ishara can have a hal to them, as we find in other places of the Quran. You can also say that batilan is a maf'ul li ajlihi. So when you carry out a verb, you do something for the sake of something. So li ajlihi means for the sake of, or in order to do something. So if understood like this, then the ayah would be translated to, our Rabb, you have not created the heavens and the earth for futile purposes. As for when he says subhanaka, this is from the verb sabbaha yusabbihu tasbihan, which is to remove Allah and raise Allah above any imperfection. So when you say subhanaka, you're basically saying usabbihuka tasbihaka. I make tasbih of you the way it is deserved to be made. So I remove you from imperfection the way you deserve to be removed from imperfection. All of that is simply condensed to subhanak. The kaf refers to the you, as in you singular. Then he says faqina. The fa begins the new sentence. The verb qi is the order form of the verb waqa yaqi wiqayatan, which means to protect something. So protect us, the na is us, adhab an-nar. Okay, so reflecting on these two ayatan, firstly we can take that in the creations of the heavens and the earth, there are signs that Allah exists. He is the Rabb, meaning the creator, the owner and the manager of all of existence, and that therefore He is uniquely worthy of worship. And every time Allah speaks of His rububiyyah in the Quran, the purpose of it is to establish the uluhiyyah. We also learn what it means to be a person of sound intellect, the ulul albab. These are people who make a dhikr of Allah Jalla wa Ala in all states. For example, you're standing up at a bus stop waiting for a bus. You're making dhikr of Allah Jalla wa Ala instead of wasting your time on your smartphone. You're sitting down, for example, you're waiting for a bus, or you're sitting in a bus or a train or a tube. You're making dhikr of Allah Jalla wa Ala instead of talking to other people on the phone, which is what you find most people doing. You may be lying down, for example. Before going to sleep, there are adhkar that you can make. Perhaps you are ill and you are bedridden, so you're making dhikr of Allah even in that state. So the point is, during all of your states, you are not neglecting the dhikr of Allah Jalla wa Ala. This is what it means to be a person of sound intellect. And then if you look around you, you will find how few people there are of sound intellect. We also learn what it means to be a person of sound intellect is to make tafakkur, to reflect on the creations of the heavens and the earth. Now at this stage, it would be worth pointing out that there are many ahadith reported from the Prophet pertaining to at-tafakkur. However, from what we have seen, they all seem to be either weak or fabricated. Such as one famous one which says, tafakkur for a sa'ah, for a short period of time, is better than 60 years of ibadah. And there are other such narrations. in this vein, but they are da'if. We do not need them. However, the Quran is enough for us as an evidence for the virtue of at-tafakkur. Okay, so what does it mean to reflect? Essentially what it means is to take admonition from the thing you're reflecting on. So that is to learn lessons. You find many scientists, they study the governing laws of the heavens and the earth, and yet they do not believe in Allah. Why is this? Because they do not reflect. They study, yes, but they do not reflect on what it is that they are studying. Anyone who reflects on the creation of the heavens and the earth will have to come to the conclusion that there is a creator who exists and has made all of these scientific laws possible. But when a person's heart is sealed, they will just pass everything off as chance. And so this ayah tells us, when you make actual tafakkur on the signs of Allah, you end up saying, رَبَّنَا مَا خَلَقْتَ هَذَا بَاطِلًا سُبْحَانَكَ فَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. As for people who do not make tafakkur, then they will think that the creation of the heavens and the earth are batilan, without purpose, and without a hikmah, without a wisdom behind it. So these are people who do not possess aql al-irshad, the intellect which guides them to acting in the proper and guided manner. There is also evidence that the fire of Jahannam exists, and that it is obligatory upon us to seek refuge in Allah from it. Also, we note how the ayah says, Rabbana, O our Rabb. And this is because if Allah is the true Rabb, then only He can answer your dua. So that's the link between dua and the word Rabb. Only a Rabb can answer your dua. That's why it is legislated in your dua to use the word Rabb. Okay, we ask a question. Why are heavens and the earth made mention of much in the Quran? Are there not any other signs as well, which one can reflect on? The answer is yes, but the heavens and the earth are two of the major signs, because they are the biggest things we can see. Otherwise, yes, even in smaller creations there are signs. Even when you look at small creatures like ants and how organized they are, in this also there are signs for a people of real and true intellect. Also, we note that when the people of intellect say you have not created this batilan, meaning without purpose, we would then take that there is a purpose to the creation of the heavens and the earth, and that everything has a purpose. And in our creation also there is a purpose. And just in case an atheist says that the universe is so vast and it's just empty and lifeless, what's the point of such a creation if Allah indeed did create this? We would say that if Allah had not created such a vast universe, you would be saying, why has Allah not created other things besides planet Earth? So either way, the atheist would always find excuses to justify his disbelief. So we say the 7 layers of the heavens, the samawat, and the ard, the earth, all of it has purpose. The purpose may be different, and some purposes may be known, others may be unknown. But Allah Jalla wa Ala never creates something without purpose. Why is this? Because of His supreme wisdom. Let's look at ayah 192. رَبَّنَا إِنَّكَ مَنْ تُدْخِلْ النَّارَ فَقَدْ أَخْزَيْتَهُ وَمَا لِلظَّالِمِينَ مِنْ أَنصَارٍ. Again, they say, our Rabb, whomsoever you make to enter the fire, then you have أخزيت, from أخزى يخزي إخزاءً, to humiliate. And there are no ansar, meaning no helpers, for the ظالمين. This refers to the people of the fire in this context. So in the previous ayah, they were seeking refuge from the fire, and in this ayah, they are justifying why seeking refuge in the fire is such a good idea. Because the one who enters the fire is humiliated, and no one wants to be humiliated. And we notice in this ayah another case of إظهار في موضع الإضمار. When you say something explicitly in a context where you ought to be implying it and not saying it explicitly. You would ordinarily think that the ayah should read as follows: Our Rabb, whomsoever you make to enter the fire, you have humiliated them, and they will have no helper. But Allah Jalla wa Ala does not say, and they will have no helper. Rather, He says, the Zalimeen will have no helper. So He explicitly uses the word Zalimeen when you think that it is easier just to say, they will have no helper. So why is this? Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah gives us 3 reasons. Firstly, it lets us know explicitly that anyone who enters the fire is from the Zalimeen. The second reason is that anyone who is a Zalim will not find any helper besides Allah Jalla wa Ala. Whether this Zalim ends up entering the fire or not, he will find no helper besides Allah. And the third reason, it gives us the illah, the justification as to why they are in the fire. They are in the fire because of their dhulm. If Allah had said, and they will find no helper, He's not explicitly telling us the reason why they are in the fire. So to sum up, this idhar fi mawdi' al-idmar has 3 benefits. The first one is istihqaq. Anyone entering the fire deserves the description of a zalim. Number 2, umum, generality. Every zalim will not find a helper if Allah decides to punish him. And thirdly, illah, the justification as to why they are in the fire is because of their dhulm. Anyway, reflecting on this ayah, we may take that entry to the fire is not just a painful torment, but on top of that, it is an outright humiliation. So it is actually 2 punishments. We also take that the zalim will not have any helper if Allah decides to punish him, and this is certainly the case in the akhirah. And even in this world, if Allah decides to destroy the zalimun, then who can there be to help them? Just as Allah Jalla wa Ala did with the nations of the past. هذا والله أعلم.